If we were drinking this outside, we might have caught something on fire. Hey everybody, welcome back to The Shed. I'm Troy. This is Dave.
Hello.
Today we're talking about the top 3 fake movie bands. But before we get started, I want you to leave your picks below, see if they match ours. Also make sure to subscribe to the channel and like this video. So let's just get rolling. What's your number 3 fake movie band?
My number 3 fake movie band is Stillwater from the movie Almost Famous. Cameron Crowe wrote the movie, and he'd also written previously the Fast Times at Ridgemont High, which is one of my favorite movies.
You see that sign? No shirt, no shoes, no dice. Right.
It's semi-autobiographical because when he was like 16, he got to go on tour with the Allman Brothers as a writer because he had written some articles that Rolling Stone had published, and the story in that movie is about him going on the road with this fictional band called Stillwater, supposedly going to write these articles for Rolling Stone. And they had a lot of true characters in the movie, like Ben Fong Torres was his editor or whatever, and he worked for Rolling Stone. At the time, you know, Cameron Crowe had written articles about Yes, Allman Brothers, Led Zeppelin, all these bands, and Stillwater is kind of a composite band of all those. It's a great movie and has great music in there. I mean, 5 of the songs in that movie were written by Peter Frampton and Nancy Wilson of Heart. And Nancy was married to Cameron Crowe at the time. And the concert, you know, footage, you know, they had real live music playing, and Mike McCready of Pearl Jam played all the lead guitar for those songs. You know, the movie's really great, and it's got a great soundtrack, and it's got a lot of classic rock songs in there, of course, you know, like Tiny Dancer's in there, but also, you know, it has the Led Zeppelin song, That's the Way. And back in the day, Led Zeppelin didn't license anything. They still don't. You don't hear Led Zeppelin in commercials or anything like that. Cameron Crowe had approached Zeppelin earlier for the movie Fast Times at Ridgemont High, and they played the song Kashmir on there. And that was like the first time that Zeppelin ever allowed any of their music to be used in a movie. It's really a beautiful movie about Cameron Crowe as a young kid and getting caught up in this world of rock and roll. And I don't know if you've seen it.
Oh, I've seen it, yeah.
Oh yeah, I love that movie. But yeah, that's my number 3.
It's a great number 3. Well, my number 3 is Eddie and the Cruisers.
I was gonna pick that. I totally was gonna pick that.
So Eddie and the Cruisers was a movie that came out in, I think, '83. It was a box office bomb. It didn't do very good at the box office.
I remember, I saw the movie when it came out.
At the box office?
No, I saw it in the theater.
Yeah, at the theater. Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah. Was that the Beaver Brown band?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They played all the music for, Eddie and the Cruisers.
Very Springsteen-esque.
Yeah, they were accused of sort of ripping off Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah.
It didn't become popular, or I guess a cult classic, until it came out on HBO. And HBO was somewhat new at the time. It was pretty much the only place you could watch movies on TV and pay for it. Because HBO stands, if you don't know, young kids, HBO...
Home box office.
Yep. HBO stands for home box office.
Yeah.
So you could watch movies. So they played Eddie and the Cruisers all the time.
Yeah.
And I remember watching this movie all the time back in the day. I don't know where. I don't know if a friend had a VHS of it or if we watched on HBO. I don't remember, but I remember loving this movie so much. And one great thing about that movie, because there's a lot of movies that have bands in it, and you can always tell they're fake playing. They're not really playing.
Right.
Even though these guys weren't musicians, the only real musician in the band was the saxophone player, and he was actually the saxophone player for the Beaver Brown Band. He was the only real musician. Everybody else was fake musicians. They didn't even know how to play. So John Cafferty and the Beaver Brown Band were the actual band that played the songs.
Sure.
After the movie, of course, played all the time on HBO, the song On the Dark Side was released as a single and, you know, shot to number 1.
Yeah.
It's basically about a band, Eddie and the Cruisers, who had a band in the 60s. They put out an album, it goes in the charts, and then they want to record another album. Or Eddie, the main singer, the lead singer, wants to record another album, but he wants to do something a little more serious, something a little more creative. The record label didn't like the album. Right after that happened, he mysteriously disappears in a car accident. He drives his car off a bridge and he disappears. Fast forward 18 years later, somebody's doing a documentary on the band. Everybody in the band's talking about, you know, the second album, what happened to Eddie. And then at the very end of the movie, Eddie sort of makes this like appearance out of nowhere. He didn't really die. And then there was an Eddie and the Cruisers Part 2, I think, that came out in '89. I don't know if I ever saw that movie.
I didn't.
I never saw it, yeah.
I saw the first.
I saw the first one all the time, but what's really strange is when I picked this band, you cannot find this movie anywhere. I looked on Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, everywhere, YouTube. I can find clips. But you cannot find that movie anywhere. I guess the only place you could watch that movie is if you had the DVD or the VHS, I guess.
Yeah.
It's one of those movies that when they're playing their instruments, especially his lip syncing, he does a great job.
I was always one of those guys, because I play, you play, and when I see like fake instrumentation, it just kind of
it's annoying.
Knocks them down a notch.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Because
I agree.
I like to see like actual performances,
or
even if
it's fake, at least fake it good.
Yeah.
But from what I can remember, they
play the drums, play the keyboards, whatever.
Yeah, from what I can remember, they faked it pretty good. I watched a couple of clips on YouTube, and it seems like they did a pretty good job of faking their.
Well, I definitely remember that movie, but it's been like 40 years.
Yeah, I know. I would love to watch it. I wanted to watch it this week, and I couldn't find the freaking thing anywhere. Anyway, that's my number 3. What's your number 2?
All right, my number 2 is This Is Spinal Tap.
Wow, that's your number 2? Okay.
My number 2, Troy. It's a 1981 mockumentary directed by Rob Reiner.
Play all? I mean, do you actually play all these, or?
Well, I play them and I cherish them. This is the top of the heap right here. There's no question about it. Look at the flame on that one.
Yes.
Look, I mean, it's quite unbelievable.
It portrays the exploits of a band that had experienced some fame and saw their steady demise into irrelevancy, you know?
Here we are such fans of your music and all of your records. That's right. I'm not speaking of yours personally, but the whole genre of the rock and roll and so many.
You know, 3 main members of the band are David St. Hubbins, Nigel Tufnell, and Derek Smalls. Of course, they had drummers in the band who kept dying under mysterious circumstances.
And it was tragic, really. He exploded on stage. Just like that.
You know, it's such a great parody of these heavy metal bands in the late 70s. And I think of groups like Judas Priest, maybe, or whoever.
Yeah.
But they weren't really that good. You know? They just kind of suck. And you pick whoever you want to fit in that category. And it's about this, you know, band that had been this big band, arena rock band, and they just, you know, slowly declined into, you know,
Playing like to 100 people.
yeah, whatever. But you know, there's so many classic scenes in that movie about that as they, you know, take their plunge, I guess you could say. Remember the one about where they're playing at this amusement park, and it's like puppet show.
Oh, yeah. They're the opening. Yeah, they're the opening act.
Like, oh no, it was supposed to be Spinal Tap first, and then puppet show.
Yeah, they were the opening act for the puppet show.
If I told them once, I told them 100 times to put Spinal Tap first and Puppet Show last.
It's a morale builder, isn't it?
And there's that scene where they're at a record signing, like in a record store. You know, Paul Schaefer is like the radio, whatever. He was supposed to promote them, and they show up, and no one shows up.
We were told massive radio support.
We did massive. We did massive. We saturated. We oversaturated.
Radio support.
That's what it is. It's me. I did it. I fucked up.
Of course, there's the whole Stonehenge scene where
They wrote down the wrong. Instead of feet, they put inches or something. Yeah.
18 inches.
Instead of
And
18
then
feet.
The gal shows up with the model and they wonder, hey, so when we get the real one, and it goes, no, that's it. And then they have these little people like dancing around it. It was just so classic.
It is such a good
man,
movie.
it's such a great movie. But they had a lot of great songs. I mean, funny songs.
Yeah.
You know, Tonight I'm Gonna Rock You Tonight. Sex Farm.
Bitch School.
Bitch School.
Time to give that whip a crack. I'm gonna have to send you back to bitch school.
And of course, Big Bottom.
Big Bob, yeah. Classic.
What a great song.
Big bottom, talk about bum cakes. My girl's got a
Such a great movie. And it's really the best rock and roll movie of all time.
I love it.
I just love it. And yeah, what can you say outside of whatever we've said? I know it's going to be on your pick, though.
You never know. You never know. I remember seeing that movie when I was a teenager, probably 85. I was probably 14 or 15. and I guess I was too young to really get the joke, because I remember watching.
Sure.
I remember watching it going, I don't quite get it. I don't.
Yeah.
You know,
You got to watch it when you're an adult.
yeah, you got to. Yeah, you have to be more mature to really to get the jokes. What's funny is a lot of the real rock stars from the day, they didn't think it was funny.
No,
Yeah.
it was too close to home.
Yeah, it's like, oh, this is the real deal. This is what are y'all? This is not a mockumentary. This is an actual rockumentary.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Anyway, that's a great number 2. So my number 2 is the band Steel Dragon from Rockstar. We had Mark Wahlberg and Jennifer Aniston in it.
Oh, yeah, I saw that movie.
So my wife and I, we went to go see that movie in the theater when it came out. The original music sounded very 80s-ish. But
It's right up your alley, Troy.
But it rocked.
Oh, yeah.
It rocked because, well,
It was a hair metal band.
the real musicians in the band were Jeff Pilson from Dokken. Mm-hmm. What's John Bonham's son?
Jason Bonham.
Jason Bonham plays drums.
Really? I didn't know that.
And the guitar player is Zakk Wylde.
Lost in space. Am I dead?
I've seen the movie, but I never picked that up.
Yeah, Zakk Wylde, he didn't have his beard. You know,
That's why,
Yeah, his
yeah.
beard is shaved for the. He shaved the beard just for the movie and then grew it back and never shaved it again, I guess. But there's 5 original songs from that particular band, and I think the singer for Steelheart was the singer on some of those, and there's another guy who sings a couple of the other songs. Those songs rock, man. And I remember when we went to see that movie in 2001. This is before kids, so we could actually go see a movie. We left the movie theater that night and drove straight to Hastings and bought that soundtrack.
Really?
Yeah.
Wahlberg did a great job in that movie. I mean, he'd already kind of gotten big with Boogie Nights.
Yeah.
At that point, he was like,
And he was a musician also, you know,
yeah.
back in the day. He had some
well, he sucked as a musician in Boogie Nights.
Well, he probably sucked in this movie because he didn't really sing. So it's actually inspired by a true story. This guy, Tim Ripper Owens, was a singer in a Judas Priest cover band. And when Rob Halford left, because he quit Judas Priest for a while.
Sure.
And this guy, Ripper Owens, had a Judas Priest tribute band, and Judas Priest somehow found this guy who was in this band who sounded like Rob Halford, and they hired him to be in the band. So for a short period of time, Ripper Owens was the singer for Judas Priest. And I actually saw that Judas Priest here in Waco.
Really?
Yeah, and they kicked ass, man. They
Well,
sounded
they must
really
have
good.
been on the downswing if they're playing Waco.
They're
but-
well, because they didn't have Rob Halford. I mean, if you
Well,
don't-
you know, it's kind of like Arnel Pineda playing with Journey, you know, just kind of.
Yeah, yeah.
Of course, he's still the singer for Journey now.
and he's a
but-
great singer, but it's
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
It's not like having the real deal
Yeah,
up there.
yeah.
Yeah. What's funny is Brad Pitt was actually picked to be the main, Mark Wahlberg's
Wahlberg's
role,
character,
but because
right.
of some kind of contract differences or something, he decided to do it. So they picked Mark Wahlberg.
Is that your name, Izzy?
Yeah, the name's like Izzy's Revenge.
Izzy. I'm not calling him Izzy.
I think the last time I saw it was a couple of years ago. It was on HBO or Showtime. It's, you know, a pretty well done movie. I mean, it's not my style of music that I'm really into, but
Yeah.
you
Well,
know,
it-
Jennifer Aniston and Wahlberg did a great job, and
I think it was a box office
dud.
The budget was $57 million and it only grossed like $19 million. So it didn't do that good. Steel Dragon's my number 2 from the movie Rockstar. What's your number 1?
My number 1 is the greatest music movie of all time.
Oh, what could this be?
The Blues Brothers.
Ah, shit.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
It was released in 1980 and it was based on a sketch by John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd on Saturday Night Live back in the 70s.
Coming to you on a dusty road. Good loving, I got a truckload.
But the plot of the movie is basically about Jake, who's been in prison, and he gets released, and his brother Elwood picks him up, and they got to go back to the orphanage where they were both raised, and then they talk to the, nun, and they find out that the orphanage is going to close unless they raise money to save it. So they're on a mission from God.
For me and the Lord, we got an understanding. We're on a mission from God.
And what this mission of God entails is them getting the band back together. And the band was the band that Jake and Elwood had before Jake went to the joint. And it included all these like real musicians.
Yeah.
I mean, these were all like top shelf, great R&B musicians, including Matt Guitar Murphy and Steve Cropper as guitars. You had Duck Dunn on bass. You had Willie Hall on drums. And you had the horn section, which was, Blue Lou, Alan Rubin, and Bones Malone. But the movie is so great. It's really one of my favorite movies of all time. And what made it such a great movie is all the cameo appearances in that movie. He had some of the greatest musicians of all time. Ray Charles.
Well, I heard about the fella you've been dancing with all over the neighborhood.
Aretha Franklin. John Lee Hooker.
Ho, 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 ho.
Hey, hey.
Cab Calloway.
Hey, folks, here's a story about Minnie the Moocher.
Plus, just tons of other artists in there. It's such a fucking funny movie, man. I mean, it's so classic.
I haven't seen it in a million years, but yeah, the police chase is probably one of the best police chases of all time.
They wrecked like 100 cars.
Yeah.
The album came out, actually, the Blues Brothers, Briefcase Full of Blues, came out with those guys before the movie was made. I think it was because they cut that album after the SNL thing that they decided to make a movie out of it. But it has so many freaking classic funny sayings. I mean, what kind of music you play? Well, we play both kinds, country and western.
What kind of music do you usually have here?
Oh, we got both kinds. We got country and western.
We're 106 miles from Chicago. Got a full tank of gas, half pack of cigarettes, it's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses.
It's 106 miles to Chicago. We got a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes, it's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses. Hit it.
It's really unsurpassed in my mind. It's the greatest fake band movie of all time. I've seen the movie 30 times. Yeah. I mean, if it comes on, as long as it's not on, edited TV, if it's on cable, I'll watch it every time it pops up. But the Blues Brothers, numero uno.
I agree. Spinal Tap and Blues Brothers are right there neck and neck. Two of the greatest fake movie bands of all time. Because my number one is Spinal Tap.
What we do is if we need that extra push over the cliff, you know what we do?
Put it up to 11.
11, exactly. One louder.
Why don't you just make 10 louder and make 10 be the top number and make that a little louder?
These go to 11.
And I think we've said all we can say about Spinal Tap. And I think we have to sort of like bury Spinal Tap at this point because we can never mention them again. We've talked about them way too much.
For sure.
We have nothing else to say about Spinal Tap.
I could talk all night long about Spinal Tap.
I love Spinal Tap. It's that's why it's my number one. So anyway, hey, that's our top 3 fake movie bands. Leave your picks below and make sure to get some merch. We got a link down there in the description, and we'll see you later.
See you next time.
Adios.
Adios.